what the Congress.gov website tells us about recess appointments in particular, saying this is constitutional. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 3 explains, the president shall have the power to fill up all vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate. So if they go on vacation, just shove them in there. By granting commissions which shall expire at the end of their next session. Now, this clause authorizes the president to make temporary appointments when the Senate is not in session. It was adopted by the Constitutional Convention without dissent and without debate regarding the intent and scope of its terms. Now, in Federalist Number 67, Alexander Hamilton came out, and he referred to the recess appointment power as nothing more than a supplement. All it does is establish an auxiliary method of appointment in cases to which the general method was inadequate. Just logically, president needs people, so if they're not in session, he can do it. So it's kind of just mechanical. Now, it is generally accepted that the clause was designed to enable the president to ensure the unfettered operation of the government, right, during periods when the Senate was not in session and therefore unable to perform its advice and consent function. In addition to fostering administrative continuity, presidents have exercised authority under the recess appointments clause for political purposes, appointing officials who might have difficulty during Senate confirmations, right? So that's kind of where it became politicized. They're like, well, we're not going to have Matt Gaetz normally, so we're just going to wait till we don't have the Senate in session and then just, appoint Matt Gaetz to something, right? Now, two fundamental textual issues arise when interpreting the recess appointments clause. The first is the meaning of the phrase, the recess of the Senate. What is that exactly? So the president can put someone in, saying the Senate may recess both during its annual sessions, but the time period during which the president can make that appointment is not clear. The second fundamental textual issue is what constitutes a vacancy that may happen during a recess. In other words, if the words may happen are interpreted to refer only to vacancies that happen during the recess, then the president would lack authorities to make recess appointments to a vacancy that existed before the recess began. But logically, I don't know how that makes sense, because what if somebody leaves and that seat becomes vacant? The point of it is to refill the seat. So for over 2 centuries, the Supreme Court did not address either of these issues, leaving it to the lower courts and other branches of government to interpret this. The Supreme Court ultimately adopted a broad interpretation of the clause. Recess of the Senate, they said it applied to both recesses and intra-session recesses. So between sessions and a break, between finalized sessions and between sessions at the midpoint. In so holding, the court, finding the text of the Constitution ambiguous, relied on a pragmatic interpretation. So, yeah, exactly. It's just mechanical. So we wanted to allow things to continue to function. So we'll see what happens. We've got now senators saying that Trump should do it, and they can battle it out later. Just start appointing people and filling the spots. So we'll see what happens, if anything, on that.